Hello, the Splitgate 2 alpha just closed. Personally, I'm very sad, and I miss it quite a lot, but apparently we won't have to wait too long, and the devs have already given some responses to feedback and questions regarding the first alpha. In an hour-long Discord stage, the devs talked about some fun facts, live service, balancing, maps, time to kill, the weapons, game modes, and some common requests by players. So today, I'm going to go over all of these things so you're informed if you missed the Discord stage. First, let's just begin with a couple of fun facts. So apparently there are now 175 employees at 1047, which is insane, because when I first knew the guys, I think there was under 20 people, so the studio has grown massively. And they also aren't considering a grappling hook as an equipment or class. That was requested by a few people or mentioned. The slide mechanic was added really early in development by an engineer called Steve, who actually loves playing Apex. So he finished playing Apex one day, decided to spend his entire day then working on a proof of concept slide for Splitgate, and the team loved it, and therefore it stayed in the game. And finally, our last fun fact is that the name of the game, ultimately they decided to keep it simple, but there were actually lots of different names thrown around instead of just Splitgate 2. None of them were mentioned. So now let's get into the things. Let's talk about balance. The approach will be to make big changes based on this alpha, rather than small ones. They don't want tiny iterations each time, as they don't think it will be productive, and if necessary, they will rebalance again before the launch as much as they need. Eros was the most played class in the alpha, by far, and also it was the most voted for class in a small poll they did in Discord to mention, people's favourite classes. They said they expected this because it's the closest to the original Splitgate playstyle, which was the feedback by many people. They did try rebalancing Eros halfway through the alpha actually. Some people may have missed this, but there was a small patch for the alpha in which Eros got less of a HP boost and speed boost, I think, when using the rush ability. Ultimately, it didn't really change much, and the majority of players just used Eros. I myself did full stack 4-player Eros teams multiple times. In comparison, other classes like Sabrask just felt slow, sluggish, and pretty much unable to compete with a full stack of Eros players. So I expect to see further rebalancing here as well. Now on to maps. Aside from Frontier, which they classed as a medium-sized map, the other two maps were the smallest in the game. There will be other medium and large maps come the full release of the game. They also say that they're working on to have a great balance of social and competitive experiences with these maps. Personally, I like the small maps. Frontier was probably my least favourite, and I think this is the most common piece of feedback. For me, on Frontier, it felt like 95% of the gunfights went on in the interior middle side of the map, and the outside was basically just used for spawning or for zones within the hot zone game type. Speaking of game types, let's talk about hot zone. So the respawn timer, they were interested in hearing feedback around this and encouraged people to reach out with their feedback through official channels. They acknowledged that people thinking 20 seconds was too long and have asked for as much feedback as possible about the escalating respawn timer in hot zone and as the rounds progress. People do kind of like it, however, how much it should escalate, etc. should be discussed. Personally, with the respawn timer, I outright think it doesn't have a place in respawn modes. I just don't understand it. Maybe one specific mode where this does happen, but it's just a weird, very snowball-inducing mechanic. It just punishes a player who is, stuck with a team who aren't quite up to his level. This is not me speaking from personal experience at all. But when one player is on, let's say, 31 or 32 kills halfway through a match, desperately trying to save the game, and his teammates are on, maybe let's say 12, 8 and 4 kills, and therefore the good player is on a 20-second respawn time for the majority of the game because his teammates can't get kills, in order to bring his respawn timer down, that's not fun. So I just don't think it has a place. There's multiple matches I played where I believe I could have saved the game if I wasn't stuck on a 20-second respawn timer. Why should I be punished for my teammates' lack of skill? It just doesn't make sense to me. And then the zone capturing. They acknowledge that people wanting zone progress to restart each time a different team starts capturing the zone. So currently the meta in the alpha was pretty much just hop on the hill when the enemy team has captured 90% of it, because then you can take the final 10% and get the full capture. You get the full reward. You do not need to sit on it for 100% of the capture, which again, very weird choice. And I think, yeah, they pretty much said that will change, and that's a good change. So yeah, they're also looking at changing the time it takes to capture a hill, as well as maybe making the progress trickle away if no one is inside the hill. Team Deathmatch wasn't really mentioned, and I think that round-based TDM is, again, a weird choice. There are many situations in TDM where, so the score to win is 15. There are many situations I had where maybe my team would go down, let's say, 2 kills to 11, an absolute landslide. But then, by the time the enemy team reached 15, we might have brought it back a bit, and the end score might have been like 15 to 11 or 15 to 12. And I can't help but feel like maybe we could have edged the win over time if we just continued playing. The way that people play the initial first 2 minutes of a TDM and the way that people play the full, let's say, 8 minutes of a TDM can be very different. One team might have an extremely good rollout for the initial spawns of a match and get the first initial, 4 to 8 kills, but then over time they might slow down a bit and might not be on top with things like weapon respawning. So I just don't really understand the decision. It seems like it really favours people who have good rollouts and, are really good in the first 30 seconds to 2 minutes of a match. Personally, I would just take it back to 40 or 50 kills to win, team deathmatch. It's tried and tested and proved. This is how it is in every game. No need to reinvent the wheel. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Then we move on to time to kill. The philosophy behind the current time to kill was to balance the Aeros carbine as close as they could to get it to the original Splitgate 1 carbine, and then go from there. But weapon attachments and things change time to kill, so they are noting and taking in feedback about potentially increasing the time to kill. They are not considering making it shorter at all. Again, this aligns with a lot of feedback I had in Discord. I think it was something like 41 or 42% of people said that the current time to kill is good and they wouldn't change it. And then 50% of people said that it could maybe be a little bit longer. And then, the remaining 7 or 8% said shorter. So the stats were massively in favor of keeping it the same or increasing it slightly. And then we move on to guns. They have shown less than half of the guns that will arrive on the launch of the game, apparently. Many people were saying multiple weapons were missing. Where is the bat? Where's the sniper rifle? What about the railgun? Will they be adding portal grenades? So yeah, the reason that they chose to include the foobar and the splitstream as the power weapons in this alpha was the alternate ADS functions of the weapons, which they thought needed the most feedback. So with the food bar, when you zoom in, you will shoot 3 rockets, versus when you're zoomed out, you will shoot only 1. And with the splitstream, obviously pressing LT on a controller or pressing whatever it is on keyboard and mouse, you will split the weapon in half and you'll be able to dual wield. So they wanted feedback on those 2 mechanics. At launch, Aeros will also get a shotgun, and they are considering switching it so that the splitstream is separate on pickup and then combines into a steadier stream when you hold the ADS. So basically the opposite of what it does now. And it was finally heavily implied that Zabrask will be getting a revolver or a gun that is very similar to the Destiny 2 hand cannon on release as well. And finally we end off with some common requests. Reload while sprinting. They are not against the idea of everyone having it baked in, as opposed to just Aeros having it as a perk, but they do think that having it as a perk supports the Aeros playstyle. Next is closing individual portals. Apparently they were surprised by how many people requested for this feature back and are taking the feedback on board regarding this. Custom crosshairs, they haven't spent time on this yet, but the more they hear requested, the more likely they will be to add this. They had this in Splitgate 1, so I'm like 99.9% sure that they will add this in Splitgate 2. There's no reason to remove this at all. Auto sprint features, they will be adding. The EMP grenades, they aren't really looking at re-adding the EMP grenades as a way to close portals instead of replacing them and portaling over to overwrite the existing one. They know it isn't obvious which portals have passed the 3-second countdown to be closable, and they want to make that clearer. That is a huge thing, because I heard so many times from people I was playing with that sometimes the portal mechanic just doesn't seem to work. I don't seem to be able to place mine down. And yes, so that's because the portal that existed is on a 3-second cooldown, so you can't actually place yours over the top of it yet. A map creator, they just said wait and see, but there was one in Splitgate 1. Basically, there will be one in Splitgate 2. Again, no reason not to add a map creator. If anything, I think this time there'll be one at launch rather than there being one post-launch, which is what they did with Splitgate 1. The practice range, again, pretty much confirmed that some iteration of the practice range, shooting range, will exist in the final game. And then new factions, abilities, and equipment. There will be no new factions or abilities on launch, but there will be new equipment. I am very happy that this is the case. I said in my previous video, I did not want Splitgate 2 to end up in an Apex Legends style situation, where there is like 20 different classes and whatever, and it just becomes a horrible experience for new player onboarding, because new players are just overwhelmed by the amount of different perks, equipment, classes, characters, etc., and don't know what the current meta is, and it takes them ages to learn every single character, etc., etc. So I'm glad that the rock, paper, scissors 3 faction style is staying. And that's it. The question, when is the next alpha, was asked. They said they don't know when they've changed stuff, and stuff that needs testing is tested and it's ready again. But they did make an announcement on Twitter, and I think maybe in Discord, saying that there will be something in the coming months, so we won't have to wait a year until we can play the game again in a beta or something. Apparently they will be doing another alpha in the coming months, which is very cool. And that's it. That's pretty much everything summarized. So yeah. Hopefully this helps you keep up to date with all the latest Splitgate 2 news and regards to what the developers are focusing on, the feedback that they received, etc. There also was obviously tons of feedback regarding the portaling mechanic itself, from multiple YouTubers mentioning this to viral clips online and discussions in their Discord. The portal mechanic again remains a topic of contention, but I don't think it was really mentioned. We'll just have to wait and see if anything changes regarding that in future tests as well. So yeah, there we go. Alright, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.